I'd like to see that kind of tasty stuff happen. With her getting Claudia out and things with Zeng beginning to go apart, the Stacy stuff has finally been entertaining, which is another reason why I'm growing captivated by it. It's clear that someone has been working against her the entire time now that we know he's the mole. However, given that lawyers in this reality are infamously bad at their professions, you can't blame me for being skeptical that there was something malicious going on. Bobby could be the only person in the earth who genuinely likes Stacy, which makes her rather humorous. And he's throwing away that whole marriage to climb the political ranks, and in many ways, she's got the same aspirations as the people she's looking to bring down. She wants power and respect, by any means necessary, and doesn't that sound familiar? Claudia talking herself out of jail was unsurprising, but setting herself up as bait for Tommy sounds like one of the dumber ideas I've heard in a minute, at least since last week. Considering he was put on the spot in more ways than one during a 5-minute span, Diamond proved that he sure can lie with the best of them. Everyone has their own long-term goals, and right now they're all using one another to get there, which means there's so much lying going on that, at times, it's hard to keep up. Diamond almost had me going for a second when he detailed everything with Dmac and King Kilo. He was so convincing, I had to stop for a minute and think about everything that's happened so far in Power Book for 4 Season 3 and remember that Diamond was always the one spearheading Dmac's demise. Now, he obviously couldn't and wouldn't tell Tommy that, but as he told Tommy about how he was trying to protect Dmac the whole time, I kept thinking there was no way Tommy was buying everything he was saying without pushing back. Tommy has proven himself to be too damn smart over the years to trust people blindly. Hell, you even see that at one point later in the hour when he deduces that Elise is trying to play him within minutes. She could tell that Jenard was already withholding information from her, and she wasn't incorrect to think that she needed at least a backup plan, which is why she was moving things along this hour. Her objective has always been to meet Che because she believes that spending time with him will help her get someplace, and if she succeeds in doing so, connecting with Manny Fresh and gaining more ground in the city will help her build her resume. We saw a taste of that during Power Book for 4 Season 3 Episode 2, when Diamond vouched for Jenard during the coalition meeting, even though Tommy was against it, but not much since then. Jenard's working Diamond like crazy, but of course, he doesn't know that, so I could see Diamond trying to include Jenard more and getting him in with Che because he thinks he's doing the right thing. And if that did happen, the really intriguing thing would be what Jenard did in that scenario, and what that would further do to the tenuous partnership between him and Shanti when she realizes he's got a leg up on her. Jenard would want to have Diamond and Shanti by his side as he rose to the top if he could truly have everything his way, but he is astute enough to see that will never be possible. Shanti and Diamond would never take a backseat to one another. Jenard will ultimately run out of time, so he's playing both sides for as long as he can get away with it. Before this hour, if I had to guess, I would have guessed that if he had to choose now, he would go with Diamond. However, I wouldn't be too confident in that choice given the way he went on a campaign to get Manny Fresh back in with Shanti. Jenard must be thinking that he always knows where he stands, at least with Shanti. However, we are all aware that if it meant getting a seat at the head of the table, Shanti would sell him down the river in an instant. She could tell that Jenard was already withholding information from her, and she wasn't incorrect to think that she needed at least a backup plan, which is why she was moving things along this hour. So, is he unquestionably believing everything Diamond tells him? Or is he biding his time because he recognizes that he needs Diamond right now and he'll be able to deal with him later? Time will eventually tell, but for now, he seemed content to take Diamond at his word. And with Dmac in danger, he had to formulate a plan to get him out of it, and everything basically fell into his lap from there. I have no problem proudly being Dmac's #1 hater because he's insufferable and arrogant, and not in the way Tommy is, or even how Ghost was, for that matter. There was a quiet arrogance, even when they were boasting, but with Dmac, it sounds borderline desperate. Time will eventually tell, but for now, he seemed content to take Diamond at his word. And with Dmac in danger, he had to formulate a plan to get him out of it, and everything basically fell into his lap from there. I have no problem proudly being Dmac's #1 hater because he's insufferable and arrogant, and not in the way Tommy is, or even how Ghost was, for that matter. There was a quiet arrogance, even when they were boasting, but with Dmac, it sounds borderline desperate. There were a lot of characters in this hour that I could not have cared less about. We are mere episodes away from the end of Power Book for Force, and there were multiple scenes of Vic and Ray, Zeng and his girlfriend, who know he's a mole, and SOD members who've been largely irrelevant to this point. I get that all these things are essential to the story they are telling this season, but it's just not all that fun spending time with people we don't know when the series is set to wrap up for good in the near future. All things this season are leading to things between Tommy and Miguel eventually coming to a head, but before we get there, we're seeing all these smaller scale squabbles, and Tommy working to settle scores before we get to the main course later on. And after finding out Dmac was still involved with CBI at the end of Power Book for Force Season 3 Episode 4, Diamond, Jenard, and Dmac had a whole lot of explaining to do, but in typical Tommy fashion, he wasn't super interested in hearing what anyone had to say outside of Diamond. On the one hand, DMC only knows the life. It's comfortable for him, and it's where he feels most like himself, but he's so brash and reactionary that it's hard to see this going well for him in the end. JP showing up this season purely to make amends with Dmac felt a little hollow, although I appreciated that Dmac apologized for what he said to his father. He sounded sincere enough, if not embarrassed by his past actions. I think Dmac is still a kid trying to act like a grown-up, and we've seen that before in the Power universe, but the difference here is that he's never had someone to really hold his hand through any of this to set him up for any success. And the success he has found has felt more like luck than a harbinger of things to come. Tommy's plan to free Dmac from King Kilo all came down to finding a fall guy. The elaborate plan with the 9/7s was just overly complicated for no reason, and Diamond and Jenard also continuously underestimate Dmac, who has proven that he's not very bright at times. Still, he's not going to back down from anything. He went into that ambush with all his ducks in a row and set himself up for success, and I'll give him his props for that. Things were actually going well for them until the gunfight broke out, and then you knew one of those poor guys that came in last night was going to die. But much like his uncle, he's got 9 lives, and when he walked into the basement of the barbershop, I laughed so loudly. Diamond had even convinced Jenard that killing Dmac was for the greater good, and they still couldn't make it happen. The King Kilo thing feels like it's going to hang around until he cuts ties with the coalition. Tommy does some digging and finds out that there's been a hit out on Dmac, and that Diamond's known about it the whole time. It's just stupid decision after stupid decision so far this season, and while it's entertaining, some of the things these people are doing doesn't quite make sense to me. But hey, sometimes you have to throw spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks, or something like that. Tommy's always been a wild card. He could be the most intelligent guy in the room, but we've seen his emotions lead him into some dangerous situations on numerous occasions. And that's to say nothing of the fact that his narcissism often hinders him from seeing outside of his limited scope. Tommy wants to take over Chicago and control the whole city in a way he could never quite master in New York, and he's so damn close that he's not seeing anything else beyond the finish line. Getting to that finish line will require a lot of moving parts working in tandem, perhaps none bigger than the coalition, and his antics so far this season have done nothing to shore up those alliances.
He faces the full consequences of his mistakes. One aspect of Power Book 4, Force that's particularly intriguing is its exploration of Tommy's newfound family, his half-brother J.P. Gibbs, Anthony Fleming III, and nephew Dmac, Lucien Cambric. Though Dmac being JP's son isn't public knowledge yet, it's bound to come out eventually, and JP has already told Tommy that he's in a financial bind. Ghost's family was completely caught up in the game, even his true love Angela was a US attorney. JP is trying to stay on the straight and narrow as is Gloria, and Dmac's not totally in yet. Tommy can have a side of his life that has nothing to do with drugs, giving himself a balance and saving himself from making the mistakes Ghost made by being unable to keep things separated.
Starz has released a new trailer for Power Book 2, Ghost Season 4 Part 2 alongside some first-look photos that tease a final showdown. The newly released trailer sets the stakes high for emotional final episodes, emphasizing that no one is safe. Part 2 of the final season will premiere on Starz at 8 p.m. in the US on Friday, September 6th. Episodes will be available to stream on the Starz app from midnight. In the first half of Power Book 2, Ghost Season 4, unanswered high-stakes questions were uncovered and Tarek learned he is the father of Diana's baby. Part 2 will showcase the adage, like father, like son. Tarek finds himself in an eerily similar situation, just like his late father, Ghost, stuck between a rock and a hard place, with the choice to leave the game or take over, reads the official synopsis for Part 2. Entrapped by Detective Carter, the Tejada family realizes their safety is not guaranteed. Monet fiercely fights for her family to become whole again, but is it too late? Noma is working her way to the top of the food chain. Meanwhile, her daughter, Anya, gets too close to the game, forcing Noma to think twice about her actions.
Dark clouds forming in the heavens over me, but I say hallelujah anyway.
As they held their guns up towards each other, Monet told Tarek that she knew they both had a lot of reasons to want to take each other out, but she had a better idea. She proposed that if he give her kids a pass, she'll give him one too. Monet explained that all she cared about at the moment was making sure her family was safe, especially her grandbaby. Tarek, who is obviously still shell-shocked by the news, lowers his gun before leaving the house. That episode ends with Tarek pulling up to the party/concert Braden put together for No Lie. When they finally catch up, Braden breaks down all the logistics of how their business will run and Tarek is very impressed. When Braden is done, he asks Tarek how things went with the Tejadas. Tarek tells him that he might not a drink before he gets into it and also says that needed to hit the blunt Braden was hitting at the moment. As the two sit at the bar, Tarek spots Anya. He walks up and offers to pay for her drinks as he introduces himself. She tells him that she can pay for her own drinks. Tarek responds by saying he could see that but she shouldn't have to. She loved the line and introduced herself. The episode ends with Tarek telling Anya that it's nice to meet her. That boy cold. Power Book 2, Ghost continues to dominate television screens as it approaches its mid-season finale in its final 10-episode run. This spin-off from the original Power series, which concluded in 2020, has garnered significant attention, with Season 4 attracting 6.5 million multi-platform viewers during its debut week on Starz. Michael Rainey Jr. portrays Tarek St. Patrick, the son of James St. Patrick, known as Ghost, a former drug lord and businessman. Tarek, who killed his father in the original series, now navigates a dual life as an Ivy League college student and a drug dealer. Season after season, viewers witness Tarek's attempts to earn his inheritance through education, only to be drawn deeper into a life of crime. He embodies the legacy of Ghost, version 2.0, as per the report by Radio Times. Adding to the complexity, Detective Don Carter, Michael Ealy, enters the fray, determined to bring down Tarek and his associates, including federal agent Angel Young, with ties to Paz and Angela Valdez. The impending threat forces Tarek and his loved ones into precarious situations, testing their resilience and alliances. The Starz app offers streaming for every Power franchise installment, including Power Book 2, Ghost. Fans excitedly await the dramatic finale of this spin-off, which functions as a sequel and a standalone story in the Power universe, as the series gets more intense with each new episode release.
Despite the Starz show's lengthy hiatus between seasons, the third season debut does not reassure viewers of its world.